Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, July 23rd. We're almost done with the month of July, but hey, we got a great show for everybody tonight. Jerry Magallanes from Miriah will be calling in. Only one guest tonight. It's been a long, long time since we had just one guest on the show. So we'll get to hang out and talk a little bit, play more music. I'm looking forward to that. Right there, Destructor, Ohio's finest. Oh man, what a great comeback record in 2007 with Forever in Leather. That was Tear Down the Heavens. I believe the next record that came out 2016, Back in Bondage, was supposed to be their first record after getting back together in 99. It just didn't happen back then. And 7 years later, we got Forever in Leather. Back in Bondage was finally released in 2016. And the last record, Decibel Casualties, in 2017. It's been 6 years since we've had a new record by Destructor. I see that they're starting to get busy again. They've been on a couple of festivals this year. They got a few more lined up for next. Hopefully, 2024 we'll have a brand new record by the band. All right, we're going to keep playing music tonight as much as we possibly can, and then we'll talk to Jerry about 6:45 New York time, about 40 minutes or so. Right now, let's keep it in the area. How about another New Jersey band? Haven't played them in a while on the show. Frigid Bitch, actually New York, but we rule the night. All right, that was brand new Mortician out of Austria. 40 years of metal, even though they've only put out records since 2011. And actually, they had an EP out, I believe, in '87, but nothing really came out of the band throughout the '80s. And when they got back together, they've put out 4 or 5 really good albums, including that EP. I wanted to interview the band, but like they hooked me up with the singer, and he's only been with the band for a couple of years, only sang on the last record, so there's really nothing to talk about except for that one record. I don't know why. Like there's only I think the bass player and the guitar player, the only two original members of the band. You know, they should be doing the interviews. Really, they do speak English because I've had them on the show in the past, but for some reason they have the singer doing them right now, and you can't really talk about the history of the band understand anything really about Mortician, except for that one record he was on and what they didn't do during COVID when the band was shut down for a couple of years. So, but it's a really good record. 40 Years of Metal. Pick it up if you have it. It's out on Pure Steel Records. It's about time Pure Steel put out something pretty decent. They've gone off the radar lately with a lot of kind of bad releases, in my opinion. But this is a good one. And right before that, The Beast out of New Jersey with Randall Flagg. I was trying to get them on the show a long time ago, and then I think, we stopped doing the show in 2020. I kind of gave up. I'm going to reach out to some of the members of that band again and try to get them on the show, maybe sometime in the fall, because we're already kind of booked up for August right now. All right, last week we had Kay French on the show. I want to thank her because I had a really sore throat. I'm a little better this week. Still not 100% yet, but Kay kind of carried the show. She was a talker, and I loved it. She kept it going. Right after the show was over, she called me up, and she thought we were going to still be on the air. She wanted me to debut one of her new singles that she was talking about called Scream It. So I have it now. We're going to play it. We're going to debut Kay French's brand new song. I know she was talking about rap rock and a whole bunch of other things. I didn't play it myself this week because I had 2 surgical procedures to go through, so I was kind of laid up. So I'm going to hear it for the first time along with you guys. But here's brand new Kay French. Let's see what it's all about. Scream It.
You wanna run away, but there's nowhere left to run when your pride decides your fate. What will your life become? Our time is running out. No time to waste.
All right, that was Classic Hades from 1985, Widow's Mite, Chapter 11. I remember buying that 7-inch single in Zigzag Records for about $2.50. I had like a fold-out gate sleeve and everything. Really nice. I think The Cross was on side A, and that song was on side B. First, I think recording with Alan Tecchio. I mean, not demo tapes, I mean, as far as record goes. There was also that Born to Metalize that came out around the same time. And I also played the song Randall Flagg by the Beast that was also on that. That was a pretty decent compilation. A couple of New Jersey bands. Each put about 3 songs on there, I believe. All right, a little while before in the chat room, Iman was talking about Agent Steel, and I just saw that they were online hyping this tour of South America and Mexico. Their tour consists of 2 shows, one in September, one in December. Now, is that really a tour? Playing 2 shows 3 months apart. When did that become a tour? I think I spoke about this a few weeks back with another band, but doing 2 shows in 3 months is not a tour. They're just one-offs. It's not a tour. And I'm looking at like them promoting it, and I don't think they've played live since that aborted attempt to keep it true about 2 years ago. All the other shows that were set up around that, I believe, were canceled at the time. So they haven't really played, as far as I know, live since that show. It was a nightmare and a disaster. I know they're also going to be at Hell's Heroes next year, so I'm looking to see if that actually goes through. I mean, I guess we'll find out this fall with those couple of shows if they go through. I think there was one other festival that booked them. I don't know what people are thinking. I know that people in Mexico and South America, they just are so crazy for metal. They don't give a shit who it is or what it is. I hear people online praising, the last Agent Steel record like it was the second coming of Christ, like it was up there with like the first record. I'm like, these people are out of their mind. I mean, because Agent Steel responds to them, or whoever's running the Agent Steel Facebook page responds to them, they think they're talking to, John Cyrus or whatever, some fucking other guy just, using their account. But it was a horrible record, absolutely horrible. And I'm dying to see, I mean, I don't want to rush this summer because I'm enjoying being in my pool, but I can't wait for September to get here to see if that show actually happens. I doubt it. I know they got 2 new members in the band. I want to say it's the bass player and the guitar player. I believe the guitar player, Justin Zyke, he was in Viking. He might still be in Viking, but Viking's so inactive, and pretty much all the bands he's a part of are pretty much inactive. But he's the new guitar player for the band, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't think those shows are going to go off, but color me pink if they do. All right, let's do our Demolition segment right now. We'll get that song on. We'll play some songs by Miriah, and then we'll get Jerry on the phone right after that. Since we only have one guest today, I figure we'll do the interview a little later in the show and stretch it out. So up next, Witch Cross. This is the demo of the week. It's from their first demo back in 1982. I love these guys. I mean, such a great band. Angel of Death was their last record in 2021. I think they put out 1 or 2 other records since the 80s. Not too many, but they're just a really good band, and a lot more should have happened with these guys. So let's do a song off their first demo tape. I'm just going to randomly pick one off the list here. Let's see what we have lined up next. You know what? We'll do Fight the Fire. Here you go.
I'm on the loose tonight. My woman's not inside. I roam the streets alone and I'm far from home. At once you cross my way. I don't have much to say. You make it hit your love, such an easy target. I feel a spark begin to glow. I feel the heat inside me grow. You're a container, not to straight me right back down.
Samurai, Witch Cross, Fight the Fire. We had Mike on the show quite a few times in the past. A real nice guy to talk to. All right, it's time to get to some Miriah right now. We're going to get Jerry on the line in a few minutes right after the song. Heaven and Hell have done it once again. They've given so many bands from South Carolina all the way up to Pennsylvania the opportunity to release music that a lot of people have forgotten about over the years and maybe never even heard. And they've done it again with Miriah. All little songs from 30-something years ago have finally been released on the Conditions Red record. So pick it up if you can. Heaven and Hell always do an amazing job on all the releases. I say this every time we have one of their guests on the show. And let's get some Miriah on right now so we don't talk too long and we save it for Jerry. Here's Dark Star.
I've never
All right, let's get Jerry on the line. Get this interview going.
This is Jerry.
Jerry, this is Mike calling for our interview. You're live on the air. How are you?
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on here today. And I have to tell you, it's so great that these songs are falling out after like 3+ decades.
Hey, that's cool, man. I appreciate being included on this. This is really cool.
Well, it's great to have you on here. I mean, how does it feel like after all these years, like to finally have people hearing these songs the way you might have wanted them to be heard in the '80s?
Oh man, dude, it's a godsend, man. Initially we were just looking to release it as a legacy for ourselves and our friends and family and whatnot. And lo and behold, we discovered Heaven and Hell Records, Jeremy and Gary, and the rest is history.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad that they got a hold of you and that they put this out. And for people that aren't familiar with the band, let's kind of take it back to the very beginning. I know the band has its roots somewhat like in the early '80s, but it wasn't until around '86, '87, '88 when you joined the band, and then it really became Miriah that we know today.
Yeah, it's more like 88, 89. And, as I joined the band, we were, for a while, we were in the basement for like 14 months.
Wow.
Before we actually played our first gig, and it was a Battle of the Bands. And, it was great because the people were just, they were surprised. The people at that time, they never heard us because we've been in the basement and, just refining our originals because we wanted to come out as an all original band. And, the guys, Jeff, Craig, and Sean were already playing cover bands and, in their previous bands. And then when I joined them, I had the idea of also creating our own material. So they had the same ideas. And, we pretty much all had the same influences. We listened to a lot of the same metal and stuff. So yeah, it was so cool how it just gelled together. It was just the chemistry.
I can imagine.
As we went along, we just kept writing. We just kept hashing out songs. Sean would, he would begin with ideas in his head of riffs and stuff, and he would throw it out there. A lot of bands do that, just jam and see what comes out and gels together. And that's pretty much how we formed the songs. It was just like jamming it, recording it. We had a little cassette player that we always had. That was important, and like molding the songs. And, it was really cool.
So when the four of you were down in the basement, you're cultivating this sound, you're trying to come up with an image and an idea for the band. This is, like you said, like around '89. Little did you know by the time you came out of the basement, the scene was about to change drastically, and it was a whole new world of music that was coming out not long after that. But when you did decide on how the band, you wanted to go and what the sound was, how long was it before you decided, let's either, go into a studio and start recording, or let's just concentrate on, the live shows?
It probably, God, I don't even remember, man.
It's a long time ago, I know.
A lot of the stuff that happened 30+ years ago is hazy,
Yesterday was hazy for me, so don't worry about it.
But yeah, we just, every weekend me, Craig, and Jeff would drive up to where Sean lived with his parents in Thurmont, Maryland, up in the mountains. And, every weekend we would go up there and we would jam. It was so cool because we had this little Irish pub up there called the Shamrock at the time. We would go there and hang out, and Craig and I would sit down and we'd write, we'd scribble on napkins, ideas for lyrics and everything. And then we'd go back to the basement, and then Sean would say, "Well, check this riff out, man." And then, that pretty much was the way we wrote songs. And then within that year's time, these other bands just started taking interest in us and heard about us, like we played with Rat Child America. We got to know Brad Divins and the rest of the band. Shannon Larkin, of course, who's in Godsmack now.
Yeah.
And, Mystic Force with Keith Menzer. I mean, those guys took us under their wings and pretty much helped us out, to mold which direction we were going to go in. And, it was really cool.
Yeah, those are some great bands that all came from that general area. I mean, was most of the scene in Maryland at the time kind of focused around the Baltimore area? Or was it kind of spread out all over the state?
It was somewhat spread out all over the state, but Baltimore was the mecca for, heavy metal
Yeah,
because that's where the infamous Hammerjacks was.
that's right.
And Hammerjacks, I mean, I still yet to get that documentary that's been out for a while now. But Hammerjacks, I mean, that used to be my weekend stomping grounds. I used to go there regularly, and as a matter of fact, before Guns N' Roses came out, I went to Hammerjacks and saw them, and there was only like 10 people.
Wow.
There was only 10 people in the crowd. I'm like, oh shit, and it was so cool. And then little bit known, they were going to explode about several months later after that.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah, Baltimore was the mecca of heavy metal in the area.
And
Although there was a club here in Virginia, where I live in Northern Virginia, which we played the Battle of the Bands at, which was called the Copa at the time and became Jack's. And Jack's had some really, I mean, they had some big names come through that club.
Yeah, every state had that one club that everybody went to. Everybody knew they can go to the countdown for hard rock and metal. I know I was in Baltimore a lot when I was younger. My band played there a lot. I think it was called Channel One or Club Zero. I can't remember the exact name of it. I thought it was Channel One. That was a pretty happening spot too for a while.
Yeah, I don't recall Channel One, but I mean, Baltimore. I mean, they had. I don't know if you remember that station 97 Underground. Man, they would. They wouldn't play the mainstream metal. They would play. I mean, that was their motto: underground metal.
I think that might have been the place, but when we were there, they had changed the name to Channel One, if I remember. I think that was the place. I remember it called the station.
Yeah, and
Early
as a matter of
80s.
fact, Jeff and I had the opportunity to go in the studio and interview with them at that time when we were first starting to gain attention in the area, and that was really cool going in there, doing the interview and everything. But yeah.
Yeah, some good times. But now you got your image cultivated. The music is there. You're out there playing live. When do you go into the studio and start recording music? And were they recorded for demo tapes that you wanted to put out? Were you strictly recording them just to kind of shop around to labels at the time?
It was a kind of both. We recorded them because they were fresh, and we said to ourselves, man, we got a mega studios. We built connections within that studio, and it's a pretty well-renowned studio in the area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, every chance we got, they had these studio school sessions, and they would call us, say, hey man, we need a band, and who passes on free studio time, right?
Absolutely.
So we would, everybody would gather together and say, hey man, there's free studio time, let's go in and record this song, or let's go in and record that song. And that was really cool to have such an opportunity like that. But back to your question regarding the future of Miriah. Yeah, we still have some material that we haven't released with this first CD of Condition Red, and we're probably going to go. We're going to go into the studio. We're going to remix, remaster, and then who knows? We may go back in and start working on some new songs. I mean, this gives us a fresh breath of new air, And luckily, everyone in the band's still alive. Everyone in the band's still able, and we're just going to see where it takes us.
I was just gonna say, is it Sean, Jeff, and Craig and yourself? I mean, all four of you guys are in there working on it right now.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, when it comes to new music, I mean, where do you go now after 30 something years? Do you try to recreate, a classic Mariah sound, or is it just, what comes out of you right now?
Well, I think it's going to be both, because I mean, we've gotten new experiences and new influences through the last 30
Sure.
plus years, and I mean, I've been an avid collector and listener of like all sorts of music, man. I just didn't, I mean, metal's still number one in my heart, but I've really spread out as far as my interest musically. And, we'll see what happens.
I'm interested. I mean, it's true because, all these years you do come into different types of music, different things influence you, different sounds, intrigue you. So you want to incorporate it to your music. You have the old thing saying, I want to hear like stuff like Ruthless. I don't want to hear anything new, anything different. But how can you just please one group of people without kind of pleasing everybody?
Yeah, that's the thing. And I've learned that from experience of watching bands kind of change direction and realize that, oh man, that was a mistake. We need to go back to our roots.
Yeah.
So I think pretty much, we're going to keep the Mariah sound intact of what we gained from the original Mariah creation and all the materials that we wrote together. We're going to try to find that chemistry again, of course. But, I mean, as time goes by, things kind of change as we
Sure.
see, as we've seen these bands from way back when and their new material. I mean, although some of them are really, really have gotten better,
Some bands have, absolutely. Going back to the
Yeah.
beginning of the band when you joined, you were actually a drummer before you joined the band. So was it hard
Yeah.
going from the back of the stage to the front, or was singing always a part of something of what you did besides playing drums?
Yeah, I would go back and forth. What had happened was when I was a drummer, I used to jam. I used to jam with musicians that played the blues. Back then, I even delved into some rockabilly and stuff like that. Stuff that I really enjoyed playing drums to. And then at the same time, I really loved metal, and I loved belting out metal songs. I mean, with like all the standard metal songs back in the '80s. From Judas Priest to Iron Maiden to Metallica. I mean, all that stuff. So yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest with you, one of the main things that really changed my mind to be a frontman and a lead vocalist was when I went to an Aerosmith show and saw Steven Tyler. And this was, I think, the Rocks tour.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they were in their prime, and I saw Steven Tyler prancing around, and I'm like, and then I saw all these girls. I mean, you got to keep in mind, I was a teenager at the
Sure,
time.
of course.
All these girls were screaming. I mean, all these hot chicks were screaming.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, that's what I want to do.
Nobody does that for the drummer.
And so I mean, I still love playing drums, and as a matter of fact, back then, we had a song that we were doing live at the time, and Jeff and I would switch, and it was really cool because people were like, "Oh man, now Jeff is singing and Jerry's playing drums." That's always kind of a cool thing to see.
Yeah.
Bands doing that. Like like exchanging instruments or whatever.
It's
But
true.
yeah, man, it was so much fun, man. I mean, sometimes when you look back at that and all the experiences that we went through during that time, man, it's kind of like, man, we're lucky to be alive.
The 80s definitely were a thing to themselves. I mean, when you became the singer of the band, I mean, did you have to invent or create this whole persona or this whole stage presence. Because being the drummer, you're the backbone of the band, but you're set behind a drum set, so there's really not much you have to do. But now you're up front, and like you said, like with Steven Tyler, he was a singer. There's lead singers and there's frontmen, and there are very few that are both. Some have the talent to sing, they really don't have much of a performance on stage. Then you have people like David Lee
Yeah.
Roth, maybe not the greatest singers, but one of the best frontmen out there. So I mean, did you kind of cultivate like your whole image before you got up there?
Yeah, pretty much. I cultivated. I mean, I pretty much threw all my influences of the lead singers I really loved and threw it all in a pot, and and just kind of went with it. I mean, at the time, at the time when I started singing, I was, I was aware of Ronnie James Dio already at the time when he was singing with Rainbow and everything. And I really loved all that stuff. I loved the Scorpions and all that, Klaus Mine. But it was, it was like some of that stuff was not exactly in my range of register vocally. So I just kind of made it my own. You know what I mean? It's like I took what I was able to do and the influences that I had and just went with it, and just created my own style, I guess, and, to so to speak. But I mean, if you listen to the Mariah CD, there's a lot of influences on there that I kind of threw in, I mean, because I used to listen to prog rock. I listened to prog rock, and I listened to, a lot of the classic rock, of course, and that just kind of molds you into what kind of musician you will be, or what kind of original material you can come up with. And I think
Absolutely.
that, and I think that goes for a lot of musicians, that they take they take the influences that they really like and love and incorporate it into their original music.
You guys definitely did that. I always felt like Mariah has so much going on. I just think it was bad timing. I mean, and maybe if this band had come out 5 or 6 years earlier, it would have been a different story. But the whole scene was changing at that time. And I know the band you left the band in what, like '92, and I know the band went on a little bit after you, but nothing really came out of it at the time. It just kind of died off. But what was the end of the band for you? When did you decide this is it? I can't do this no more?
I think it was around 91, maybe the beginning of 92, that I started seeing, a lot more flannel around, and, the whole hairband image was going away. The leather and lace and all that was going away. And I'm like, man, this is not looking good.
No, not at all.
And it's like, and it was like, well, maybe I should concentrate on my 9 to 5 job career now.
So there was no more music after Mariah for you? Did you kind of give up on the music in general, or just altogether?
No, I mean, I never gave up on music. So during that time when I left Mariah, I still kind of, I still kind of wrote lyrics or whatever, but I listened more, because when you're in a band, man, you don't really have time to really listen to music. I mean, you can listen to music like during, when on your downtime or whatnot, but to really delve in and listen to music closely, and you have, once you have that time, that's pretty much what I did with my time, is just studying different types of music, and then, and of course concentrating on my career.
Sure. Well, all these years later now, the album finally sees the light of day. Or the songs get released on a record. I know you said you're in the studio, you're working on some new stuff, going over the old stuff again. I mean, is the band going to look to become active again full time, or just, a lot of bands get back together, they try to get on the festival circuit, they do select shows here and there. What's the future plans for the band? Because everybody's in a different place in life right now. So what do you plan on like doing with the band and the music at this point?
Well, we're gonna see how it goes. I mean, with these things, it kind of takes time. we're like I said, we're going into the studio. We got some more material to release for our second release. We've been talking to Jeremy and Gary about that. With Heaven and Hell Records, and we still got a lot of ideas that we can actually put together. And it goes with the saying, "Never say never," right? But
That's true.
we would love the opportunity to actually play live and and get the music out there again. Especially playing live, because that's where we were really top notch at. Because the energy of live performance is just so phenomenal. Um, I can still, I mean, it just gives me chills right now just thinking about it, like right before going on stage. I was pretty much joking around, like, well, it's almost kind of, like before this interview, I was saying, man, this is almost like the feeling I got before I got on stage.
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, and we're gonna um, we're gonna be rehearsing the songs, and if an opportunity comes around where we can actually play live, we're probably gonna go ahead and do it.
That'd be
Absolutely.
fantastic. I mean, is everybody still kind of in the general area?
Yeah, yeah. All the guys are in Maryland. I live in Northern Virginia, and it's just it's probably just a couple hours, if that,
Yeah.
to drive to where they're at. And we usually sometimes we'd meet over at the Omega Studios in Rockville, Maryland, which is kind of halfway for me. And we stay in touch. Um, we were just super excited when we had the opportunity. When Jeremy and Gary gave us the opportunity to release this material to the world, we were just so excited about it, and we still are. I mean, we just released the CD when I think May 12th,
Yeah, a few months
and
back,
it's
yeah.
start. It's gonna take some time to gain some traction, but you know, we're we're just gonna we're just gonna keep looking forward and thinking positive about it, and and like everyone else, I mean, Sean has said he's got some new ideas, new riffs. This is so inspirational for us. Like a lot of bands who may have shelved their music and then didn't really think or think that they would re-release it again. I mean that inspires a lot of bands to do that, and I think that's where we're at in that aspect.
The great thing is that, besides old people like myself who remember this music and all these songs like that, there's a whole new audience out there today. There are kids in their 20s, there are teenagers today that live for the stuff from the 70s and 80s, stuff that I don't think I would have been into, when I was a kid of my parents' generation's music. But there's such a young audience that are going to discover your band and this music for the first time, and it's just going to blow them away.
Oh yeah, I mean it's funny you say that because my cousin's son, who's interested in music, and he's in a little band out in Los Angeles. He heard about the Mariah CD, and he's like, "Man, it's so cool, Uncle Jerry, that you're releasing this stuff." And he was one of the first ones to buy the CD. And I'm like, "Well, that's awesome," And I mean, yeah, I mean there is definitely a young audience out there for '80s metal. Yeah.
There really is. And if you go back to like, the late 80s when you recorded these songs, did you have any luck back then kind of shopping them around to the labels, or was the tide already starting to change back then where there was really just no interest in, the metal from the 80s anymore?
There were some, there were some labels, but I mean, it was nothing concrete. And as a matter of fact, as I mentioned on the insert, if you read the insert in the CD, Melanie, who was working with Concrete Marketing at the time, we were working with her, and she told us we went to New York to visit her, and we went to go see Faith No More, Soundgarden, and Voivod at the L'Amours, and lo and behold, Dimebag Darrell and Rex Brown were there, and this was before their first CD, Cowboys from Hell, came out.
Yeah.
And they were there, and Melanie, quickly gathered all of us, say, hey you guys, I want to introduce you to Dimebag and Rex. So we went and met those guys. I mean, we didn't know. I mean, back then, I mean, who knew Pantera was going to blow up? And it was so cool, man, hanging out with Dimebag and Rex. Craig exchanged shirts with Dimebag. He had a Miriah shirt on, and Dime had a Soundgarden shirt on, and it was so cool, man. At the time, if I only had a camera phone, man, I would have snapped that shot, and it would have been priceless.
Yeah, nobody had camera phones back then. Most people didn't have cameras back then.
Yeah. It's all a memory in the brain now. It was just so cool just hanging out with those two and just talking about music. And I mean, Dimebag was really down to earth, and we had a lot in common, as far as bands developing, and it was just so cool. Not to mention the show was awesome.
I remember that show.
Oh man,
that was my club. I lived right near there. Yeah.
Yeah, the Moors was awesome. We never got to play there. But we did play the Electric Lounge. We did a showcase, and we were in a showcase with Heaven's Edge, and I think Heaven's Edge eventually got picked up by either Columbia. I don't remember what label picked them up. But yeah, that was really fun. So it was always fun going to New York.
Yeah, they were absolutely great times. I'll give you that. But Jerry, I'm gonna have to cut you loose in a few minutes because I want to play some more songs off the record, get a few more things on to wrap up this week's show. But I'm hoping that you guys do put out another record, and I'm hoping that you really put out some more new material. I'd love to hear what you guys are up to today. And when you do, you come back on the show. We'll do this all over again. We'll pick up where we left off.
Oh, definitely, Mike. And thank you, and appreciate you. And I really appreciate the Heavy Metal Mayhem radio audience. You guys keep rocking, keep metal strong, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it, Jerry. Thank you for all the music, my friend. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you real soon again.
All right, you too, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, let's get on some more Miriah.
Dangerous. Take three.
I figure since we were in Maryland, one of their finest, Wrathchild, before they were Wrathchild America, before the lawsuits with the English Wrathchild, they were just Wrathchild. I saw them at Lemoore in '83, I believe. It was in the fall. I cannot remember who they were opening up for. I want to say it was Accept. I just don't recall. It was a long time ago. But they were just Wrathchild back then, and they did Dangerous and a lot of the songs that were on that first demo tape that came out in '83. They were just a great, solid band, and I never knew what happened to them after that because this was before we had the internet, and there were a lot of magazines that were out, and I was just on the trade demo tapes back then with more and more people, and I finally got a hold of the demo tape after that, and I kept in touch with the group for a long time, and I had Brad on the show a few years back. Brad Devon's a great guy. The band is active again today. I don't know what they're doing. Brad's like a sound engineer or something, so I don't know if the band's really playing out a lot or doing anything, but it'd be great to get them out there recording again and putting some new music out. I think the 3D record from '91 was the last that the band gave us. So, You never know what could happen, right? All right, we're gonna keep the music. It's so nice not to rush to get through everything because we usually have two guests on. We try to compact the interviews down to a half hour each if we can, and get on some songs. So it's nice to just play music tonight again. And Jerry was a great guy to talk to, and I hope we do get more Mariah music out of them. It'll be fantastic. But go to Heaven and Hell's website, order the record, get the actual album. You can always go to Bandcamp and buy it there or download it, but buy the physical copy, sell them out. And poor Gary, every time I was talking about Heaven and Hell, I always mentioned Jeremy because he's the one I deal with. But Gary is also part of Heaven and Hell, so I feel bad that I never mentioned his name. Okay. Last week I was watching, I didn't even know this came out. There was a documentary on Paramount. It was a three-part series called I Wanna Rock. It was based on the hair metal, scene of the mid to late 80s, and there were 3 episodes. I think I fell asleep in the middle of one because I was zoning in and out. I was on painkillers this week. I was zoning in and out from my surgeries. So I'm going to go back and rewatch. At least I think I missed some of the middle one. But it was 3 episodes. It was about the rise of these bands. They focused on like 4 or 5 bands. It was the rise of those bands, when they got to where they wanted to be and how they became famous. And then that kind of downfall, like when grunge took over and what they're doing now. And I know they focus on Skid Row. They had Dave on there. Dave Snake Sabre was one of the main guys I talked to. Janet Gardner from for Vixen was on there. And I have to tell you, they played a little bit of, played some clips of her and her husband who have a new band that she left Vixen for, after they reunited to do her solo stuff. And it actually sounded pretty good. I never really gave it a chance to listen to it, but it actually sounded really good. So I'm going to go and try to check that out if I can this week. So for Skid Row, Vixen, it was John Crabbe. It was supposed to be the Scream, but they kind of really focused more on his Motley Crue time than anything else, So that was it. There was a little bit of Dee Snider in there, but what doesn't have Dee Snider in it? You put a microphone in front of the guy and he talks. Winger was in there. I actually really felt bad for Kip Winger. Like they ran this guy through the ringer. It's not even funny. He touched like hurt he was when the Metallica video came out, and he throwing darts at his face on the dartboard. And then it was I forget her name. I think it was Vicky Hamilton. She was like a manager out in LA, back in the time when, women really weren't a big part of the scene, and how she kind of like discovered Poison and was with them, and they kind of dumped her right before they became famous. Then she wound up hooking up with Guns N' Roses. That's what reminded me of this when Jerry was talking about seeing Guns N' Roses with nobody in the club, and she was one of the people that saw them like that and got involved with them and laid out like tens of thousands of dollars to get this band off the ground. And as soon as they got signed to Geffen Records, they dumped her too. So it was, she sued them and got her money back, thank God. But, it's a sad kind of story, but it was a pretty good documentary. The only thing that annoyed me was it was done by MTV, so naturally they had quite a few of the MTV personalities from back in the day on there. And Ricky Rackman, I just cannot stand this guy. I can't stomach him. I can't tolerate him. He was the worst thing that ever came to this scene, in my opinion. And he was talking about like how grunge, ruined heavy metal. Well, the whole thing of the documentary is about how grunge came about and all those bands fell by the wayside. But he comes on and says, it wasn't grunge that killed heavy metal. It wasn't grunge that killed the hairband movement. It was Garth Brooks. Everybody I'm sitting there shaking my head. I'm like, Garth Brooks, you're telling me that heavy metal died in 1990 because Garth Brooks rose to fame? I mean, this guy is such a fucking moron. It's not even funny. I don't know who gave him his job on MTV, but they should go to hell for doing that. The man is just an absolute jerk-off. I don't like him at all. I really don't. I thought he was such a poser in the scene back in the day. And I don't like to use that word because it's a stupid kind of word in my opinion. But he was just such an asshole. He was just like a wannabe ride-along. And I always hated and disrespected the guy for that. And he proved it again in this documentary by talking about Garth Brooks is what killed hair metal. Like all those hair metal fans, they woke up one morning and says, you know what, I'm not in the Motley Crue no more. I'm not in the Guns N' Roses no more. I'm not in the Skid Row anymore. I want to go see a Garth Brooks concert. How fucking stupid is this guy? All right, enough about that. We'll get to some more metal news a little later on. Let's keep the New York metal flowing. How about Armed Forces out of Long Island? Let there be metal.
Here I am all by myself, nothing to do, nowhere to go. My life is empty. Let's go to the place we're meant to go. We're meant to go.
right, we kicked off that set with New York's Armed Forces, Let There Be Metal, then Dead On, Beat a Dead Horse, and right after that, Banshee, Back Your Way. I can't remember the last time if I ever played Banshee on the show. It's been a very long time. I've been trying to dig up as much new music as I can, and I came across Vipera. For some reason, this band kind of just got by me. They've only been around about 2, maybe 3 years. They're out of Sweden. The debut record came out last year, Eat Your Heart Out. These guys are on a 1980 schedule. They put out a record a year so far. And this year they put out Race of Time. I think they're a pretty good band. I mean, let me know what you think. I mean, they kind of got that classic sound to them. Here's a song called Riding on the Wind.
We will never stop, no, no. We will never give in, never. Oh, we're riding on the wind.
Switch, Lord of the Flies. We're going to wrap it up here. One more song to go, and we're going to call it a night. Wrapping up the month of July next week. I can't believe it. We're halfway through the summer season. Man, as much as I love the fall because we decorate really big for Halloween, and Christmas and Thanksgiving, all the holidays, I love being in my pool during the summertime, having a nice cold beer at nighttime, sitting outside at the fire pit. So I hate to see the summer end. Unfortunately, when you live in New York, you only get a couple of nice months, and this year we had a kind of cool spring. The summer really didn't get started until the beginning of July. June was kind of cold also. So I'm just trying to soak up every moment of it and enjoy it. But I want to thank Jerry Magallanes from Miriah for being on tonight's show. Next week, who's our guest? Let me open up the gift box and see. Billy Puglia of Nick Fury. That's going to be a great one. So we'll be talking to Billy next Sunday night. And we got a bunch of great guests lined up for August. My boy Jeff Scott Soto will be on. James Rivera. We have members of Max Warrior and a few other guests. I'm just waiting to confirm the dates are coming on. But August is a busy month. And I can't believe this September we celebrate our 15th anniversary show. 15 years. It's hard to imagine that. All right. So like I said, let's wrap it up. One more tune to go. How about we do a little plasmatics? I figure, I just friended Richie Scott on Facebook. Richie was on the show years ago with T.C. Tolliver, the drummer from the Plasmatics. I'm going to reach out to Richie and see if I can get him back on the show maybe in September. Richie was a really fun guy to talk to. Such a big fan of the Plasmatics. And Richie had a band called King Flux in the 80s after he left the Plasmatics. And they were a solid act. I wish they would have put something out. I actually got a couple of live bootlegs of them that I'm going to transfer. But I wish I had recorded stuff. But it is what it is. All right. Here's Wendy, Black Leather Monster. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. I'll see you next Sunday night.
You make me itchy. You make me mean. You're pushing my buttons. You're a pleasure machine. You're eating my heart out. I can't get enough. You're eating mine. You know how to. Know how to drive me crazy. To make me wild. To make my blood boil. To make my flesh crawl. You make me itchy. You make me mean. You're pushing my buttons. You're a pleasure machine. You're eating my heart out. I can't get enough. You're eating mine. You know how to. Know how to drive me crazy. To make me wild. To make my blood boil. To make my flesh crawl. Ow! Blacker than monster. 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 Know how to drive me crazy. To make me wild. To make my blood boil. To make my flesh crawl. Ow! Blacker than monster. You make me itchy. Blacker than monster. You make me mean. Blacker than monster. You're pushing my buttons.